Another report on Maghnes Akliouche as Spurs continue their pursuit of the player. Reports are stating that Spurs retained an interest in Ademola Lookman, a player they've long held interest in. Spurs need to double their bid if they want to land Brazilian defender Souza, and can Thomas Frank win over the hearts and minds of the Tottenham Hotspur faithful? Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, let's get into it. Give Me Sport report that according to Team Talk, Spurs have been closely monitoring and following Maghnes Akliouche this season and are believed to be pushing to sign the France international this month. The North London side could decide to make a crucial step towards the 23-year-old's arrival in the coming days, with Akliouche more open to a move amid Monaco's difficult season. Akliouche, dubbed as insane, has been one of Monaco's best players this campaign, registering 5 goal contributions in 16 league appearances and starting 15 times. It is believed the 23-year-old, an excellent dribbler like Ebery Chiesa, would command a fee north of £50 million, with Monaco in a strong negotiating position as Akliouche's contract runs until the summer of 2028. According to a report from Team Talk, Tottenham are one of the sides showing an interest in signing Atalanta winger Lookman during the January transfer window. It is believed Spurs are in the market for attacking reinforcements following the sale of Brendan Johnson to Crystal Palace, with a host of different names on their shortlist. Ademola Lookman, described as world-class by BBC journalist John Bennett, was born in London but is currently representing Nigeria at the Africa Cup of Nations. The former Everton forward is naturally a left-sided forward but scoring twice in Serie A this season from just 2 starts. It's unclear whether he'd be interested in a return to England, having plied his trade at Everton, Charlton, Fulham and Leicester before his move to Italy in 2022. If Tottenham can replace Johnson with Lookman, then that would certainly be an upgrade in their attack. Although Lookman has struggled this season, he flourished during the 2024-25 campaign, providing 20 goals and assists combined in Serie A. Caught offside state that Tottenham Hotspur retain interest in signing Santos defender Souza, although multiple clubs are interested in the player. However, Tottenham are the most advanced in the race. They have already proposed a deal worth around €10 million. However, the Brazilian club is demanding double that amount, and they will only sell the defender for around €20 million. It remains to be seen whether Tottenham are prepared to break the bank for the teenager. Despite the initial proposal being rejected, Tottenham are refusing to give up on the chase and are continuing talks with the South American outfit. The 19-year-old is a tremendous talent with a bright future, and he could develop into a quality player for Tottenham. He can operate as a left back and a left wing back. He could also help out at both ends of the pitch. Tottenham need more depth in that area of the pitch, and signing the young Brazilian could be ideal. He would be a long-term asset for the club. Meanwhile, Manchester City and Newcastle United are monitoring this situation. Tottenham must act quickly if they want to get this deal done. There is no doubt that they have the resources to pay the €20 million for the defender, but they are hoping to sign him for a more reasonable amount. It remains to be seen how the situation develops. Newcastle and Manchester City have the finances to stump up the cash, and Tottenham will need to act diligently. A BBC Sport report asks the question, can Thomas Frank change the hearts and minds of the Tottenham Hotspur supporters? How does Frank transform what seems to be a largely loveless relationship with the Spurs fans? by winning games in a style, and that has at least the supporters shifting towards the edge of their seats, not slumping back in boredom. At the moment, this looks an impossible task, as many seem to have made up their mind that Frank is not the man for them. Harsh so soon into a head coach's reign, but already it is only a sequence of wins, preferably achieved with panache, that will shift hearts and minds in this part of North London. The Spurs fans did not turn on their team or the head coach during the game versus Sunderland, a fact acknowledged by Frank, but the reaction at the final whistle was one of loud dissatisfaction. Frank, however, told BBC Match of the Day, first and foremost, throughout the game the fans were very good and backing us, and that is all we can ask for. I'm sure the fans will acknowledge the first half and the players tried throughout the game, but sometimes it doesn't go your way. He added there were a lot of positives in the performance. The first half was much more like I want us to do. I liked our intensity with and without the ball. We created a lot of good situations, but we lacked the decisiveness to finish the game off. The second half was a little bit more back and forth, but we were slightly on top and still got into those attacking situations where we needed to kill the game off. The positive is the intensity. The negative is that we didn't score the second goal. When you are working very hard, sometimes you get into that momentum where everything clicks and goes your way. Sometimes you have to work very hard to get the margins on your side. That is all you can ask for, and then we're all a little disappointed that we couldn't get the 3 points. Disappointment, worryingly for Frank, however, is becoming the byword for Spurs and his tenure so far in North London. Okay, well, here's my thoughts on those stories today. Not a great deal of news around today. Firstly, Maghnes, Akliouche. This has been reported on before, and it's just reiterating the same fact. Personally, I think he would be a really good acquisition for Spurs. A player that's not had Premier League experience, we know that, but he really did, as I've said many times, he ran the game against us when we played Monaco. Really, probably the best player on the pitch for me. You could possibly say Vicario, actually, because he did keep us in that game, didn't he? Quite how that finished the draw, I don't know. But yeah, Maghnes, Akliouche, I think would be a really good acquisition for Spurs. And look, everybody's saying how much these players are going to cost. It's pretty bog standard for a decent player. You're not going to get, in my opinion anyway, a decent player for much less than 50 million nowadays, which is crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy money. But Akliouche, one of those players that comes with a high price tag, but the ceiling is incredibly high for him. Do we want to bring players in that have Premier League experience, though? We've discussed this on transfer shows and fan shows and everything. Is it a bit of a risk? Because we've seen this with the likes of Dearman, massive transfer fees, but it's a bit of a risk. Would Akliouche be a risk? I think any transfer is a bit of a risk, even if they have Premier League experience. But somebody like him, would it be a bad thing having a number 10? I don't think so. On to Ademola Lookman, obviously Premier League experience there, which is great. We've been after Lookman, or certainly been interested in him, for a few transfer windows now. And have looked at him again. I think he would be a really good acquisition for Tottenham. Really good numbers last season, say this season not as good. Probably more achievable. And for me, there's less risk with this one if we sign Lookman. I know a lot of people like Ademola Lookman. You could see him fitting in at Spurs, actually, this player. So if you don't know much about Ademola Lookman, go and have a look on YouTube. He's a good player, actually. He's a really good player. I wouldn't be opposed to this deal going through, but let's see how that one goes. Souza, again, I know this has been mentioned before, but Spurs, it looks like they're still interested in this deal. Santos wants double what we've offered. I would say that's not unusual. Teams don't generally go in with the amount that the selling team wants, so there's always a bit of back and forward. But the difference with this one is there is a lot of clubs looking at Souza. So I would say if Spurs really want this player, they have to go and get him and pay the money and really show intent, I suppose. I don't know anything about this young lad. Apparently he does come very highly recommended. Again, one with a high ceiling. Again, is this a bit of a risk if we need that replacement or somebody to to battle with Destiny Dog at left back. The left side is an issue at Spurs, that whole left side. You know, do we need somebody that is definitely going to come in and that we know can do the business in the Premier League? That's all I would say. But if Souza's one for the future, well, I think we still have to look at these. But I think this transfer window is getting players to help Thomas Frank in now, to be honest with you. And coming on to the last story, can Frank win over the fans and the hearts and minds of the Spurs fans? I think it's going to be difficult. Brutally honest here, I think Thomas Frank is losing fans day by day with the performances people are seeing. And yes, 100%, you can say we've had injuries, we've had suspensions, but a lot of clubs, most clubs, deal with injuries and suspensions throughout the season. And Tottenham Hotspur are no different. So you have to play with the hand you're dealt. And at the moment, Thomas Frank admittedly got a difficult hand, but could we see a bit more attacking intent? Could we look to finish off games and not just sit at 1-0 or just play for a draw? I think that's what frustrates the fans more than anything is when we quite clearly at Brentford the other week played for a draw. We got the draw, but is that good enough? Not for me. I like to see Tottenham Hotspur attack. That was probably the most dire game of football I've ever watched, and we had the players there that could do that. And Brentford weren't anything special, let me tell you. Really good home record, by the way, but we've got a really good away record. So, you know, we should be doing more there, in my opinion. And that's all from me today. Get down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on any of these stories today and your thoughts as a Spurs fan right now. How are you feeling? How do you feel about Thomas Frank? Get down in the comments and let me know. And as always, come on you Spurs.